Raider Nation, what's going on? It's Mitchell Renz here, host of the Raiders Report, and I just want to say happy Thanksgiving to everybody that always tunes into the show. Believe me, I can't tell you how much I appreciate all y'all and how thankful that I am that each and every one of y'all are in my life every day. So coming up here on today's show, obviously, I'm not at the Chat Sports Studios. I'm literally out here at my fiance Alex's parents' lake house, and we're kind of just chilling here. I mean, we're so far out in the boonies. If you want to talk about college, people know like Texas Tech, all these tech schools. No, we got Carpet Tech. That's how out in the boondocks we are right now. But coming up here on today's show, I'm going to go through some of the Thanksgiving Day games. I'm going to tell you some of the picks that I'm going to be rolling here with PrizePicks because they have a hell of a deal going on right now. And if any deer or anything run in the background, I'm just going to warn y'all, they've been like going all sorts of wild already this morning. I've had to put Chuck inside because I'm worried he was going to go after and get them. On top of that, we're going to talk about the Raiders news that I believe that all of y'all need to know that happened yesterday, and then some new speculations, if you will, more updates on Shaq Leonard. So first off here, what I want you guys to do down below is comment something that you're thankful for. I think days like today always remind me how appreciative I am to have an amazing fiance like Alex, a beautiful dog like Chuck, two amazing parents like my mom and my dad, a great family on both sides of my family, great health, like I'm very thankful that, and you got to think about the amount of people that, let's face it, aren't able to come home for the holidays. And holidays are always about, to me, spending time with the people that you love. And I know that we all can't shake hands here, but believe me when I tell you this, I was looking forward to making this video this morning because I want y'all to know that I am very thankful for you. I want to give a shout out to some other big-time Raiders content creators that are my ride or die guys, if you will. So shout out to Graphic, Wasted, Hammer, Honcho, Raider, Cody. There's probably a lot more names that I could throw out there, the people that I know for a fact have my back. But seriously, if you guys could, please comment down below something that you're thankful for. All right, let's go now to the very first game on the Thanksgiving Day slate because let's face it, Thanksgiving to me is like spending time with the fam, having a few good drinks, just crushing a whole bunch of good food, and watching some awesome football. So the first game coming up here is going to be at noon 30 for people in Eastern time. Lions versus Packers. The spread on this one is 7.5 points for the Detroit Lions. And right now, the over-under is set at 47 points. To me, I got Jordan Love in a fantasy league, in my family league, so I'm going to be rooting for him. I'm not going to lie. I've had Aaron Rodgers and Joe Burrow both blow their legs in a 2 QB league, so sometimes you got to roll with the punches here a little bit. But the Lions, to me, from top to bottom, are a much better football team. The Lions, when these two teams played earlier in the season, were really dominant in that game. So for that reason, I'm going to be taking the Lions to win this one, and with the 7.5 point spread, I also believe that they're going to end up covering that. Let's go to the next game here. It's the Dallas Cowboys against the Commanders. For those that don't know, my fiance and her family, they're big-time Cowboys fans, so let's go Commanders, right? This one here, the over-under is at 48.5 points, and then the spread is Cowboys minus 12.5. Like, to me, this is going to be one of those games where I think a lot of people think that the Cowboys are going to go in there and steamroll them, but sometimes teams have other teams' numbers. In recent years, like the Commanders have played Dallas, I want to say pretty damn tough. So I'm still going to take the Cowboys to win, but I do think that the Commanders end up covering that one. Let's not go to the 49ers and the Seahawks. Face it, it's the best game of the day. Like, I know a lot of people are going to be looking forward to those other two games, and probably because of Dallas, but the best game of the day is the teams that are battling out for first in their division over there in the NFC West. The Niners and Seahawks. Niners are 7-point favorites here. The over-under is 44. I think that the Niners, even though a lot of times those NFC West games, divisional games, can be weird, and the Seahawks have had the Niners number. However, with Geno Smith struggling with some injuries, 49ers are playing really, really good football right now. And yes, Seattle did lose that heartbreaker last week to the Rams, but I'm going to take the Niners, and I'm also going to take the Niners to cover that minus 7 spread. Coming up next here on the show, I'm going to give you guys my prize picks because right now what PrizePicks is doing is they have a really, really cool deal, and I know I don't have all the graphics to show you guys what I ended up doing, but right now if you go to PrizePicks, which is prizepicks.com/CLNS, and use code CLNS, you're going to be able to get a $100 deposit bonus. So if anybody out there is like, I don't have a fantasy football team, Mitch, or if you're like, you know what, Raiders don't play today, go over to PrizePicks, put down some money, because the deal that I did was a really, really good one, which is why I want you all to go try it out right now. So essentially, you pick 3 more or lesses on a player. And this week I'm rolling with Christian McCaffrey, Dak Prescott, David Montgomery. And I put down $20 and I can win $100 if, and this is the special that I want you guys to pay attention to, Christian McCaffrey more than half a yard. Half a yard rushing and receiving combined. Obviously, he's going to get that. So usually you have to get 3 right. This one, they're just giving you 1. So that means all I have to do is get 2 right, which I'm going to go with Dak Prescott, more than 266.5 passing yards. And the Commanders are ranked dead last against quarterbacks in terms of fantasy points scored. They've given up the most passing yards to the QB position with over 2,000. And I know for a fact that teams are going to be going out there. They're going to be chucking the rock. And Dak, to me, on Thanksgiving, give me the more on that, though. It does kill me a little bit. And then David Montgomery, more than 76.5 rushing and receiving yards combined. Earlier this season, Montgomery had over 120 yards of total offense, 3 touchdowns. So essentially, if David Montgomery gets more than 76.5 rushing and receiving yards, Dak Prescott's get more than 266.5 passing yards, and if McCaffrey gets more than half a yard, I'm going to win $100. All I had to do was put down 20. You guys can get started too. Again, I'm going to put that link for y'all down in the comments and down in the description of today's show. All right, now let's get into the Raiders news that happened yesterday that I think a lot of y'all were asking me about, and my schedule was kind of weird. I think a lot of people were traveling yesterday. I know for me in particular with Alex trying to get out here, we had to travel, so I couldn't make the video that I wanted to be able to make. However, the big news that happened, and I say big news because nothing crazy happened yesterday, but hey, we make videos every single day here, and I know it's Thanksgiving, but if you haven't already, make sure you guys click that subscribe button, turn on those notifications, and make sure you guys join Chuggs and I when the Raiders and Chiefs play on Sunday because it is FKC week. Don't get me wrong, I'm thankful for a lot of things. I ain't thankful for the Chiefs this week. All right, so the first move that happened yesterday was the Raiders, they decided to move on. They waived linebacker Jaylon Smith, which I'm not too surprised if I'm going to be honest with y'all. Like, Jaylen Smith is a big-time name guy. When he was coming out of Notre Dame, highly touted linebacker, suffered a really nasty knee injury, goes to the Dallas Cowboys, puts up some really good years, but because of those knee injuries that really started to rack up, but he spent some time with Patrick Graham, and that was one of the reasons why when they ended up making the move, I was like, okay, I can wrap my mind around that. And it was the very first move that the Raiders did after they fired McDaniels, because I can remember waking up the next morning after our 26-hour live stream, and I was like, holy shit, they signed Jaylon Smith. Let's go. I got to make that video. But in the corresponding move that the Raiders then have also, they have signed to the practice squad Elerson Smith. And I know a lot of y'all are probably like, Mitch, who the hell is Elerson Smith? So Smith is a former 4th-round pick by the Giants in 2021. That's when Patrick Graham was the defensive coordinator there in New York. And in his career, he's got 11 tackles, forced fumble, which came in 2021, and 2 tackles for loss, 121 career snaps. Most of those snaps have been on special teams, but the reason why he's an intriguing prospect to me is because when he was coming out of Northern Iowa, he was just a big dude, right? Like, you see 6'7", he was probably like 250, 255, 260, somewhere in there. But when you see somebody 6'7", you're like, holy crap, that's a really, really big dude. And if you want to know like a good build comparison, I'm going to go with the former Raider defensive end Carl Nassib. So think about that size, that longness, that lankiness, if you will, and an edge rusher. But at Northern Iowa, you know, he had 82 tackles, 24 sacks, 8 forced fumbles, 34 tackles for loss, 11 PBUs. But to me, he was big wingspan guy, right? And the Raiders right now are a team that they're trying to get some length there on the defensive line. I mean, there's no doubt about it, right? Like, you got Max Crosby, you got Tyree Wilson, and now if you're trying to potentially add a little bit more, he is a defensive end, but I think he's probably more of the outside linebacker, defensive end role. Like, think about those stand-up outside linebackers. Like, another comp body-wise is honestly probably Chandler Jones is another good one where the Raiders want length on that line, and they also want it for special teams as well when need be, but he's a really good athlete. Like, to me, the technique's not there. He definitely needs to bulk up a little bit, and I'll get into some of my strengths and weaknesses that we had written down for him back in the 2021 NFL Draft at Chat Sports, so I'll go through those. But he's a good athlete. Like, to me, if you can find a good athlete, and if you're willing to bet on a good athlete, then I think you're going to like the move here with Elerson Smith. So some of the notes that we had on him during the NFL Draft back in 2021 was long frame complemented by a long arms. So kind of a lot of the stuff we were just talking about, does flash some upside, and he can pop every game. Like, he's going to go out there and he's going to give you a good motor. He's going to go out there and he's going to hustle his freaking tail off. The kid's only 25, 26 years old, but he's a hard-working player. And there's times when you're that thin, and he was able to put on quite a bit of weight from the time he got into college. Like, dude added, like, I think it was like 50 or 60 pounds, I think Tom wrote in his notes. But 50 or 60 pounds from the time he got to college to the time he left, which kind of just goes to show how much, you got to grow up a little bit as a man. You get into the weight room, you eat some food in college. We all gain a few pounds in college, right? So you were able to bring him in, but the fact that he's able to put on that weight and the fact that he's that build, I think that these Raiders are looking for in that outside linebacker defensive end role does speak volumes. One of my favorite things about him that Tom has here is impressive snap timing and his get-off quickness. When you're as big as he is and his first steps, like your first 2 or 3 steps, think about in the NFL how big that is, especially for an edge rusher. His get-off speed is great because he's got that long length. The problem is when a player hits him, he's overmatched often. He's overmatched too easily. And in fact, my number one knock on him right now in our notes here is that he ends up on the ground way too much. When you watch film on him, you're like, all right, he's on the ground again. Shit, he's on the ground again. So I think he's got to do a little bit better in that regard. He's bad against the run. Again, he's really only just a guy that's going to try to get after the quarterback, pin his ears back, and get after somebody, but mainly on special teams is where he's played. He might get an opportunity down the road with the Raiders just because of some of the other limitations that some of these linebackers may have for the silver and black. All right, and then I do think the other thing that I want to talk about here is because Jaylon Smith was released, yes, the Raiders did add Elerson Smith, defensive end, outside linebacker role, but I had a lot of people ask me, all right, Mitch, do you think because they moved on from Jaylon Smith, could the Raiders go out and get Shaq Leonard? For those that don't remember, I talked about this on Tuesday. The Indianapolis Colts, they moved on from Shaq Leonard, and he went unclaimed. The reason why he went unclaimed was because of his contract. He was due to make $6.11 million for anybody that would have claimed him. So if the Raiders would have done that, they would have owed him basically $1 million every single game for the remainder of the season. On top of that, he had an injury clause in his contract at $6.5 million, so he was also tied for next season as well. And if you're the Raiders, you don't know how healthy this guy is, so essentially committing yourself to $12 million. I know a lot of people on social media wanted the Raiders to get Shaq Leonard because he's a big-name player, but I said it on the show, I do not anticipate anybody puts in a claim for him because of that contract. Now, with that being said, now that he's a free agent, nobody puts in the claim for him. Now any team can go out there and sign him because he's just a normal NFL free agent. And according to Adam Schefter, it looks like the Eagles and the Cowboys are 2 teams that are eyeing him, which, again, does not surprise me because according to Leonard, according to everybody that's been reporting this story, is he wants to go play for a playoff caliber football team, and there's going to be playoff caliber teams that probably can use him. So to me, I don't anticipate. Everybody who I've talked to says that the Raiders really aren't looking, that they're very happy with where their linebackers are at currently, which I agree. Like, Robert Spillane's been arguably the best linebacker in football, maybe minus Fred Warner this season. And then on top of that, Luke Masterson's been getting more reps for good reason. He's been playing better. Divine Diablo has been, disappointing. Let's just call it what it is. He's disappointing because the expectation's always so high every single year. Been battling some injuries, but to me, this Raiders defense has got a real hell of a test going up against the Kansas City Chiefs. And honestly, dude, I can't freaking wait. All right, y'all. The final question that I'm going to ask you guys here on today's show is I want you to tell me, what are you most looking forward to eating? Like, Thanksgiving, don't get me wrong, family, it's all there, but, man, it's the one holiday where I know for a fact I can absolutely just pig the hell out, and I absolutely plan on doing so. So if you could, please comment down below some of the foods that you're looking forward to eating. And what I'm learning, is, again, I don't know if you guys know this, I'm about as white as it gets, right? And growing up in central Pennsylvania, are the food that I ate growing up at Thanksgiving compared to the food that I eat now. Like Alex's family, they're Mexican, and then her dad, he's a black man. So a lot of the food that they make is a lot different than stuff that I grew up with. And I always tell them, like, man, Thanksgiving here, I wish I would have been eating this food my entire life compared to back home. And it's no discredit. I think my family can cook back home. It's just different styles of Thanksgiving. So for the people that watch this show all the time with Chuggs and I, y'all know that we're foodies. So I'm always just curious of, what are you guys eating at Thanksgiving? Could I potentially add it to our repertoire here down in Texas, which I would love to be able to do. Also, before I get out of here, Chuggs and I are going to be doing a Thanksgiving Day battle. So if you don't follow me on Instagram or Twitter, please make sure you do so at Mitchell Renz 365. And you can also go follow Chuggs on Twitter at Jeremy Chuggs, because all week, not even all week, all month, hell, I feel like we always do these battles of who can build the better Thanksgiving Day plate. Well, today, we're finally going to settle that debate. So Chuggs is going to take a picture of his Thanksgiving Day plate, and I'm going to take a picture of my Thanksgiving Day plate, and we're going to let all y'all vote on it on social media. And loser's going to have to do something special, I think, on the live show this upcoming Thursday, or next week at this time. But hopefully y'all have an amazing Thanksgiving. I know this was a little bit of a different video, but I think days like today, man, sometimes you got to do things a little bit different. But major love to all y'all. I'm going to hop in there. I'm going to enjoy a cup of coffee. I'm going to get ready for some football. I'm going to get ready for some grub. And I'm going to get ready to hang out with the family, because that's what these holidays here are all about. All right, Nation. Peace out. Enjoy the rest of your day. And again, happy Thanksgiving. All right, y'all, if you're looking for more videos here around the Las Vegas Raiders, a little bit different than what we made today, click that subscribe button right here. We have over 155,000 subscribers for a reason. If you want even more videos, Chuck personally, my dog, recommends these. However, my fiance Alex and her family, they're going to recommend the ones that are over here by the sun. Bottom line, if you're always looking for Raiders videos every single day, videos, content, we got you covered here on the Raiders Report.